What's going on, Facebook Live? This is Mel. Some of y'all know me as Melody or Mel, the credit queen of the North and the South. And I have another title. I'm the mortgage strategic queen. Yes, I am. We're coming on live tonight on a Sunday night, a little bit different, a little bit out of my comfort zone, but we're doing this for people that are just chilling right now, relaxing, getting ready to go back to work tomorrow. Some of you are probably going in tonight, whatever the case may be. I'm glad you're tuning in, and I don't know how it's going to go tonight because people may tune in a little bit later on, you know, once I make the video, whatever the case may be. But to get straight to the point, my name is Melody. I have about 10 years of experience dealing with credit, and one of the biggest things that people have asked me out of all the clients I've had down through the 10-year span that I've been doing this is, Melody, I need to buy a house. I rarely heard about people that want to buy a motorcycle or get a loan for a vacation or even pay for their children's, you know, for their college education. It was always about buying a house, and there's a strategic way that you buy a house. And one thing people have been fooled, there's a myth that say as long as you got a high credit score, you can buy a house. That's not true. That's not true. I've been in this game for 10 years, you know, and I'm telling you, that's not true. It's not always about that credit score. It's about how it is structured. Your credit profile is structured and how you are positioned to buy a house. Now, there's one person that's in here right now. I can't see who you are, but welcome. 2 people on now, so welcome. But I'm getting ready to spit y'all knowledge from here on out until we're done with this subject matter, which was probably never be never. But I want to position you on how to be positioned when you go before that lender with your application to buy a house. And when you get your realtor, I'm telling you right now, for all the realtors that's watching, shout out to Shalonda Thurman, who has pushed me to this point. Thank you so much. And to my girl, Stephanie Tylicki, who is a mortgage broker, loan officer, people that have encouraged me down through the years. They are so happy when you come to them with a pre-approved letter. Somebody say pre-approved. All right. Hey, Treese, how you doing, cousin? Pre-approved, okay? So some of you may be in this live. You may have purchased a house before. You may be making your second purchase, and we know down through the years things happen to our credit profile, things of that nature. So I'm gonna give you some mad knowledge for the next few weeks from here on out, talking about things that people are not talking about really on Facebook, because I don't see it, and I'm always on the big 3, which is Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. At least in my world it is. But let's get going, okay? So tonight I'm gonna do about 4 weeks and on. I'm gonna see how this goes. But tonight we're gonna talk about getting y'all ready for a mortgage, getting your profile ready for a mortgage. Again, ain't got a lot to do so much with that high credit score. It's more to that, okay? So we're gonna talk about tonight why good credit scores get tonight. And we're going to separate again the myth from how mortgage lending really works. Because mortgage approval is not based, again, on what social media says. I see so many videos, they get on my nerve, Lord. It's like people just be piggybacking off of what other people say. They really don't know the industry or the business of credit. But it's not about what social media says. It's not about what Credit Karma says. It's not about what Credit Sesame says. It's not about what Privacy Guard says or any of these other free apps that are out there, because mortgage approval is not based on that. It's based on the underwriting math. And what I'm going to do is break it down so easy. Y'all going to be like, girl, is that what it was? And I'm like, yep, that's it. And some of y'all probably already know. So you're going to be doing a little refresher thing. And once you learn the math, you're going to stop guessing the game, and you're going to be prepared to get your house, all right? Some of you are investors or want to get into investing. This is going to help you, all right? All right, so there's 5 things we're going to look at tonight, and I'm not going to be before you long. Now I sound like I'm in church. Oh, my God, I'm not going to be before you long. But 5 things we're going to look at tonight, okay? And even if one of these 5 things are weak, it's okay. I can show you other ways to strengthen some things. But if just one of them are weak and you don't know how to strengthen things, then you're going to get denied. I don't care even if you got a 700 score. We're going to look at mortgage scores. Mortgage scores 2, 4, and 5. All right? We're going to look at the middle score rule. We're going to look at the DTI math. That is the debt to income ratio. And we're going to look at ideal DTI ranges. And the 5th thing we're going to look at is stability. Now, some of y'all have already been sending me text messages and DMs about doing this situation with mortgage, because people, like I said, always come to me about houses. So I'm going to break some things down to you. Now, first thing you need to understand is this. And again, you can watch this again over and over and over again, because it's going to be on my 3 main platforms. And I'm going to expand that later. But the first thing you need to know is about a FICO score. And I talk about this with, like I said, Credit Karma, Credit Sesame, Privacy Guard, even some of you people that have your credit cards and they give you that free credit score from Experian or even TransUnion. You get it going through the portal, or even Equifax. A lot of time that's your Vantage score, not your FICO score. And lenders, turn it down a little bit, sweetheart. Lenders are not looking at your Vantage score. Vantage is that free score that you get that pop up on the apps. Excuse me. We don't care about that, and we don't want to know about that. We're trying to get a mortgage. So we're going to talk about the FICO score. One thing you got to know is, what is a FICO score? A FICO score is spelled F-I-C-O. And what it is, it's a mathematical system that was developed, I believe, let me see, I had to put the year down, but it was back in the 50s. It stands for Fair Isaacs Corporation. And the 2 men that built it was Bill Fair and Earl Isaacs. That's why it's called Fair Isaac, okay? That's the FICO score. They founded the company in 1956. And again, they created a mathematical way for lenders to measure risk. So it ain't got nothing to be how sweet you are and how nice you are. And in a lot of cases, not even being racially profiled. It's based on the math, the numbers, okay? Not emotions, not opinions, but data. And again, I'm talking about the FICO score. So I have people call me all the time. They'll text me, again, DMs. I get this stuff all the time. Mail, my credit score is 720. I'm like, okay. And the next question I ask them, okay, where is that at? Is that your Vantage score or your FICO score? And a lot of people majority of people don't even know what I'm saying when I say that. And then I'll say, well, which score is that? Is that your Equifax score? Is that your Experian score? You know, is that your TransUnion score? And sometimes people say, oh, it's my TransUnion. I said, well, who gave you the score? It came through my app from TransUnion from my credit card, Capital One. I'm just throwing something out there. Okay, you got to know what you're dealing with and understand the whole system, the whole process. So when you walk into that lender's office, or when you send your application to different lenders, you know how they do it, and they run a credit profile on you, a credit check. I'm going to go through that too, how to keep from getting hit over and over and over and over as a hard inquiry. I'll talk about that in another class. But tonight, when you do that, you got to know what they're looking at. And with FICO, there are really over 20 different FICO scores. I think it's like 20 to date right now. It's like 28 different FICO scores. But I want to concentrate on the ones that the mortgage people use, okay? The mortgage lenders, the mortgage underwriters. The credit card industry uses one. I think that's FICO 8. Then you got the auto people, the automobile people that give loans. They use a different one. And again, the mortgage lenders use one, okay? And now, let's talk about the ones that the mortgage lenders use, and you need to know this. FICO score, Experian uses FICO score 2, all right? TransUnion uses FICO score 4, and Equifax uses FICO score 5. And these are called the mortgage scores. And they are usually lower than what you see on apps. So I got to stop there and pause real quick. I pull people sometime over the phone or in person. We pulled their FICO scores and they're like, oh, no. I got a 710 on Credit Karma, but you're telling me it's a 675. Yeah, because we're looking at a FICO score and not a Vantage score anymore. Okay. Lenders pull all 3 scores. But this is something else that I want you to know. They don't average all 3 scores. What lenders are looking for as mortgage lenders, underwriters, when they pull all 3 of these scores, I told you, TransUnion is a FICO score of 4. Experian is a FICO score of 2, and Equifax is a FICO score of 5. When they offer that system, the FICO mathematical system, when they pull those scores, they are not looking at your highest score. They are looking at the middle score. All right? What y'all need to do if y'all watching, get you a piece of paper, honey, because we ain't got no slides tonight. Get you a piece of paper, an ink pen, or a pencil, or some type of writing utensil, and take notes, because you're going to need to know this, okay? All right, so example. I'm going to give you a good example. say that you have a score of 702. It don't matter who it's with. Say you got a score of 702. It could be TransUnion, Equifax, Experian. It doesn't matter who it's with. You got another score of 684. And then you have another score of 720. That underwriter is going to take that middle score out of those three I just listed. Yours could be different, which would be 702. That's the middle score out of those three. Whatever that middle average is, that's the score that the mortgage underwriters are going to look at. So in the example I just gave you, 702 would be the middle score. That will be called the qualifying score. Now, it kind of flips a little bit if you're a husband and a wife, or your couple, brother and sister, mother, daughter, father, son, because you may be buying investment property. If it's two of you applying for a mortgage, then the underwriter is going to look at the lower one when they compare the two, not the middle score. Again, if you're just applying by yourself, the underwriter is going to look at your middle mortgage score. But if you're applying with another person, two people, then the mortgage underwriter is going to look at the lower score. Why? Because the underwriting is based on the weakest risk in the file. And that's all it's about. Can you pay the money back or not? You know, you got other things, which we about to get into the DTI. You got a car payment, you got credit cards, you know, I don't know, maybe you leased a boat or something, you know, got boat payments, I don't know. And then you're about to add a mortgage on top of that. So the underwriter is just like, okay, I know you can pay your boat, your house, and your credit cards, but can you pay this house too? You about to buy, you trying to buy this house? We're going to put all that together, okay? So I'm about to break down the DTI. So in a minute, not yet though. But what does the weakest risk mean? It means whoever represents the higher chance of repayment problems, that's the score the lender must use. Because again, they're looking at the risk factor. Can you pay this loan back? So here's a real life example again. Borrower number one, they may have a middle score of 720, but they may have low debt and a long credit history. Remember, we've talked about that in many videos I've done. We talked about the FICO wheel. That 35% of the FICO score is your payment history. Do you pay your bills on time? That 35%, if you miss one credit card payment, if on that 31st day it hits your credit report, that could drop your score, God is my witness, as much as 50 to 100 points just from one missed payment. Whether it's a credit card, your car, your house, whatever is reporting to your credit report. One missed payment. But in this scenario I'm giving you with the real life example, borrower one, because we're going to talk about two people now. The middle score is 720, but they have low debt, which means they don't have a lot of debt, and they have a long credit history. So I said 35% of the FICO score is your payment history. 30% is what do you owe. That's your credit utilization. That means everything all together. How much of your credit are you using? You may have a Capital One credit card that has a $500 credit limit and you're using $250, where your utilization, 30% of your score, that's too high. That's 50% of using your $500 card. Lenders want to see that under more. The people always say under 30%, but I tell folks 10% is good. Under 10%. What do you use? So 35 payment history. 35% is your payment history. 30% is how much do you owe. Then you got 15% of the FICO score is your credit mix. What kind of credit mix do you have showing on your credit profiles? Do you have credit cards? Do you have an installment loan of some sort? Do you have a house, maybe a mortgage already? Do you have a loan that you're making payments on, like an installment loan? What type is in your credit mix? That's 15% of the score. Then you got another 10% of the score. Excuse me, turn that around. 10% of the score is the credit mix. Then you have the 15% of the score is how long have you had credit extended to you. And one thing I notice, people always want to erase that student loan. Don't do that, even if it's negative, because usually student loans are your first account that you ever get showing that you have a credit, that shows up on your credit profile. And if you delete your old credit cards, your student loans, that's going to drop your score too. And then the other 10% is like miscellaneous. Okay, so you got 35%, 30%, 15%, 10%, 10%, all that equals up to 100% on that FICO wheel. So going back, I gotta break it down, you know, so you'll really know what's happening. So that's the FICO score. So let's go back to the lender again with the example that I gave about the couple, whether it's a married couple, brother and sister, whatever, that's buying a house. I told you they go by that lowest score. One person applying for a loan they'll go by that middle score. But two people, so real life example, borrower number 1, middle score 720, low debt, long history. Borrower number 2, their middle score is 640, but they have low student loans and a high credit usage. Now, even though borrower 1 is strong, the application must be evaluated using the 640 credit score. And again, I told you that's because that is couples. Because if one borrower struggles, then the loan is still at risk. That's why they tell you sometimes, some of you have probably already experienced it. When you go in, I had another couple, I had to do their credit. They had I think it was the husband who had a better credit profile. So they were going to just run the credit and try to get the loan for the couple just off of his credit alone. But when you do that, you also take out the factor of adding your income as well, if that's making sense. So say that he was making $100,000 a year and she was making $100,000 a year. They would use both of their incomes and it would put them at $200,000 a year. But when you do that, you have to run both credit profiles. In their case, hers wasn't as strong as his. It would have probably messed them up and hurt them. So they only could run his, and that would decrease the amount that the bank would have given them on the loan. Because if you make $200,000 a year, my goodness, you can buy a $500,000 house. That's a whole nother thing, but I'm not even going to get in that tonight because I know those are questions that are coming later. So again, because the one borrower is struggling, the loan is still at risk. And mortgage lending always analyzes the most vulnerable part of the file. All right? Now, let's talk about that DTI, debt to income. It determines if you qualify. Now, what debt to income really means, and this is just plain English, DTI, debt to income, means how much of your income is already committed to bills and obligations before we even add a mortgage. And I said that earlier. Yep, you can pay your car, you paying your credit cards, you done got that boat loan, you paying on that, and maybe you got an installment loan of $20,000 just to have some play cash or to travel. Okay, we know you paying that. But again, how much can you pay even after paying those bills? And let me let you know this too. When the mortgage lender and you're doing the application and they're doing that mathematical equation, debt to income ratio, they're not including your utilities like your electric bill and your cell phone and your gas bill and your grocery bill and your food allowance. And if you go to the movies or if you go out to eat or if you go on vacation, those are not the type of bills they're factoring in. They're factoring in the things that I said. Anything that actually shows and reflects on your credit profile, that's showing at Experian, TransUnion, Equifax, that's the debt they're looking at, okay? And, you know, unless you owe your electric bill and is on there in the collections account, that's a whole nother thing. We don't, I don't want to get into that because that's a collection. That's a whole nother thing. But understand what I'm saying. So committed things, again, like car payments, credit cards, student loans, personal loans, even child support. Any required monthly debt that is showing up on your credit profile, that's what they're looking at. It's measuring how much of your income is already spoken for every month. All right. Now, for those of you that got paper and pen, pencil, or some type of pencil, honey, if you got kids like mine and you may can only find a marker or a crayon, whatever you have, save this piece of paper. I don't care if it's a typing piece of paper or a notebook piece of paper, but write this equation down. This formula is very easy. This is to get your DTI. It's very easy. Total monthly debt divided by your gross monthly income. All right. So let me give you an example. Say that your total monthly debt is $2,000. You know, that's including your car payment, whatever, the installment loan you got, the boat you bought, and some credit cards. Okay. And your gross monthly income is $6,000. You would take that $2,000, which is your total monthly debt, and divide it by $6,000, which is your gross monthly income. Okay. Now, let me say this before I give you the DTI. Now, you can have, again, a 740 credit score and still get denied if that DTI is too high. And trust me, people have gotten denied with high credit scores because they owe too much. And the lender is saying, man, you already owe a lot. How you going to factor in a house payment? Your house payment could be $1,500, $2,500. Can you handle that on top of what you already owe? So again, gross is before your taxes. So if you bring home $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a month, and I mean, if that's what's showing, and then by the time Uncle Sam get his, and whatever you paying in, maybe some type of, I don't know, your insurance, life insurance, your health insurance, you may only bring home $6,200 instead of $7,000. But they want that gross is what you bring home, and in this example, on what I just said, is $6,000 a month. Okay, so weekly example. Let me give you some more because I love giving examples. If you earn, and people say, I don't know how to calculate my gross income. It's okay. There's nobody just so smart and so not smart. That's what I'm here for. I'm breaking it all down so you can understand. If you earn $1,000 a week, 1,000 times 52 weeks, of course, is $52,000 a year because there are 52 weeks in a year. And $52,000 divided by 12 months is $4,333 a month of qualifying income. That's what that example, okay? Bi-weekly, here's another way to calculate it. Say that you earn $2,000 every 2 weeks. Well, you times 2,000 times 26 weeks, because remember, you get paid bi-weekly. That's $52,000 a year. $52,000, which is your gross monthly income for a year, divided by 12 is $4,333 a month. Same thing, okay? Now, again, going back to this, let's go to that DTI formula so I can put a cadence on it, all right? Total monthly debt divided by gross monthly income times 100 equals your debt to income ratio, your DTI. That multiplying by that 100 is going to give you that percentage because it's going to come out as a decimal, but you can convert it when you multiply it by 100. So let's give another example. Let me just put it in your face that you understand it. There's no question about it, okay? Say your car is $400 a month, okay? You can write this down. Say your credit cards total $300 a month. Your student loan is $300 a month. Same as your credit cards. Your personal loan that you have taken out, maybe you pay $1,000 on that a month. Total debt, again, you calculate those up. $400, $300, $300, and $1,000 is it's $2,000, all right, of total debt. Income, $6,000, gross monthly income. Now calculate. $2,000 of your debt divided by 6,000 equals 0.33. If you times that time 100, you'll get 33%, and that is your debt to income ratio, acronym DTI. So this particular example, this person, we'll call him Mr. Joe, has a DTI of 33%. Now, you have a front end ratio and you have a back end ratio. So I'm going to just run through that real fast because you'll notice that the lender, when the underwriter writes for the loan, they're going to go by the back end. So the front end ratio shows they only look at the future housing payment just by itself. In this case, let's just say the house is $2,000 a month. But the back end ratio, they're going to look at everything. Like I said, your debt and can you afford to pay for this house? Add the debt from the house loan that you're going to get to the debt that you already have. That's the back end ratio. And that's what the lenders are looking at. All right. So again, can you afford this house? All right. Moving on. Now, this is what percentages signal to lenders, these DTIs that I'm talking about. If your DTI is under 36%, you're strong financially. More than likely, if everything else is clear, other stuff, I'm gonna tell you other things that they're looking at, then you're probably good, clear to close. That's something that's like words from heaven when you hear that when you about to buy a house, clear to close. When that lender say, hey, you can have this $250,000, you have this $455,000. We about to, you could go and buy your house, clear to close. But anyway, that's just a wonderful language. You if you've never experienced it, then you know what it feels like because it feels wonderful. Okay, so under 36%, strong financial capacity. If your DTI is anywhere between 37% and 43%, it's acceptable, but it's watched. They're going to keep an eye on you. And there's certain things that lenders do. I tell people, don't do no crazy purchases before you get ready to go to that closing table. Because I've seen people get denied right at the closing table. It's the most horrible thing, horrible feeling. Ask these real estate agents and these people that the mortgage loan officers, it's just like tears at the table. People actually cry sometimes. But anyway, 44 to 50% of DTI, you're a high risk zone. All right. And the higher the DTI, there's less room for life to happen. All right. So you got to be careful with that DTI. And this is what underwriters think long term. They're asking you if a person can make 360 payments. And usually that's the average time when people buy a house, they usually get a 30-year mortgage. That's not always the case. Some people get 15-year mortgages. But on average, people get a 30-year mortgage. So they're asking you if you can make 360 payments, which is equal to 30-year mortgage of payments. And 30 years times 12 months equals 360 payments. So they're measuring your sustainability, not today, but decades to come. You're just going on. Now, let me say this too. We're almost done. Risk, remember I told you, is all about lenders looking at, can you pay it and your other bills too? Or are you a high risk? So risk is viewed by lenders in layers. All right. Let me give you a good example. If one area is weaker, another one got to be stronger. Remember, I said that at the very beginning of this video. So here's an example. If you got a low credit score of 640, but you got strong savings, those are called reserves. We'll get to that in a minute. You got a low credit score of 640 versus the person that got a 740 or 785 or whatever. But you got like 20, 30,000 in the bank, they're going to look at you. Because you showing them that, okay, they got some reserves, which means if they did lose their job, they can make 6 months of payments and not go broke. Because they got 20 grand, 30 grand just laying in the bank account. Okay? Another, if you got a higher DTI, but you got a long, stable job, say you've been at your job 15, 20 years, but your DTI is high. Well, lenders gonna give you points for that because you've been at your job for a long time. All right. Now, say if you got a short job history, and I like to use nurses as an example because my daughter is a nurse. Nurses have the ability, and some of you do too in your different careers, they have the ability to work here 6 months and then go to another job because it's paying enough money, a lot more money, and they'll switch out another job and go for another 6 months. And then maybe they'll say at another job, say this one is a different field in nursing. They can go to that job right there. That's 3 jobs, but 2 of them had 6 months. They had another 6 months. That's 18 months. And then they go to another job. And that's another 6 months. What lenders are looking for with job stability is usually 2 years. And here's the thing. As a nurse, it's not so much you jumping careers. You're just changing jobs. Long as you're stable in your career and you're just doing something that may better you in your career, then that's okay. Long as it's 2 years of stable history, they got to have that. So again, if you got a short job history, but that's that word in the middle, that comma, but large down payment, that's going to offset the risk too. So maybe you were, let's say, maybe you worked at the hotel as the front desk clerk, but you just got your engineering degree. And the last 3 months, you got hired and you working for, I don't know, the Dana Corporation. That would be somewhere in Toledo. You working for the Dana Corporation. Well, that's not, a whole bunch of stability. You got 2 years consecutively, but you switched over. But if you put down a $20,000 payment, that's going to offset that risk, if I'm making sense. Because they like, Mr. JoJo just put down $20,000 for the house. But he did graduate as an engineer and he was consecutively working. So that's something else that can help you. Also, if you have limited credit history, this is how a lot of these teenagers, TikTok millionaires and different ones and ones that ain't millionaires, they just reading and they got sense, and AI is not always the devil, y'all. It's not. AI, I'm one of my best friends. I love AI. Me and AI is really good friends. But anyway, this is how they're buying houses and stuff, because they may have a limited credit profile because they ain't nothing but 18 and 19 years old. However, they have a low debt. See what I'm saying? That could offset risk too. So underwriting is balancing the entire picture. All right. And I didn't get to say nothing about reserves. Let me say that because we're getting ready to close on this. And I'm going to take some questions. Hi, Keith. How you doing? Hi, Bishop McLean. How you doing, cousin? All the way from Chicago. I'm going to take some questions in a minute. But I want to talk about reserves because I don't have that in my notes. I don't know why, but I don't. Reserves, again, like I said, it's just some money in the back end. You know, you may have, like I said, you may have stacked about 20, 30, 40,000 in the bank. Lenders want to see that, especially if you got a low credit score. They want to see reserves. So when you go to the closing table, and there are different loans that you can get. First-time home buyers, you can get the FHA loan. USDA, that's a special loan in areas, in cities. I think now the law changed, or the rules changed for the loan, that even though a house may be in a certain neighborhood, they got to know the exact address in order for it to be approved for a USDA loan. That's a whole nother thing. I'm not getting into loans tonight. So the FHA, the USDA loan, you have a conventional loan, and there's one more, the veterans loan, the VA loan. Whatever the case is, it's good to have reserves in the bank. So when it comes to the down payment, but I think with VA, you don't, the VA, I believe they pay your down payment. It's so many things running through my head right now with loans and different things, and this is a part of real estate too. But I'm telling you, it's good to have reserves, some type of money in the bank. I will say this, FHA is a little bit more lenient because it's a first-time home buyer, and you can get a house with a low score of 580. Again, it's according to your DTI. Yep, I said it. You can buy a house with an FHA loan at a 580 credit score, but there's a way that you have to do it. And yes, I know the formula, I know the magic, and I know the tricks. So call me if you need some help. But yeah, so have reserves. That's what I just wanted to say. So again, we get ready to close out, and I'm going to take some questions if y'all got some. You don't get approved because you save, honey. For those that are believers, I can't help it. The preacher gonna always come out of me, y'all. That's just my personality. That's who I am. They don't care nothing about you being a good person. They ain't got nothing to do with your reputation. They want to know, can you pay the loan back? Okay, you get approved because your file makes sense on paper. Okay, your file makes sense on paper. So my goal with y'all is to help you build a mortgage-ready profile. All right. That's my job, where your income, your debt, your credit, and your history all tell the same financial story. And when those pieces align, approval becomes predictable. That is it for tonight's lesson. I can't believe I did that in 32 minutes flat. Everybody watching tonight, are there any questions that y'all have? I'm going to be back again next week too, so spread the word. Spread the word. And you'll see little bits and pieces of this on TikTok and Instagram and different things, because I want to help people. I looked back the other day and I could not believe that this is 10th year. This is year 10, 2026. I started this business in 2016, and God has blessed tremendously with the unbelievable highs and lows that I've been through. But I've learned so much, and I was able to help so many people, and it's part of my ministry. I love it. I love helping people. As you can see, I could talk about credit all day long, mortgages, you name it. So y'all got any questions? Because if I didn't see you, Andrea. Hi, Drea, how you doing, sweetheart? We went to high school together. That's my sister. She's so sweet. If y'all got any questions, come on. We up here for a minute, y'all. We 33 minutes in. If you have any questions, I'm trying to think if there's anything that anybody would probably ask me that's just not thinking to ask me. People always ask me about starter credit cards. Pay attention to the percentage rate of the APR, the annual percentage rate. Sometimes you're going to have to get a whack card if you're trying to reestablish your credit. Unfortunately, you may have to get a card with 29% interest rate. Unfortunately, I just say hurry up and buy something, buy a pair of socks, a pack of chewing gum, or some formula for the baby, and pay it off before that 25-day billing cycle hit, because you got to establish consecutive good payments in your credit history. You got to do that. You got to do that. Somebody else came in, but I can't see who it is. All right. If we don't have any more questions, because I just made up a question, I got to go because I got things to do. So while you got me, if you have any questions, y'all text me, you email me, info@dreamingbig.biz. That is info.dreaming, DREAMING, melody.biz. Okay, if you have any questions on email, or you can text me. Text me, DM me, email me, because it's about to come a time that I'm not going to be able to really answer like that. You're going to have to book consults, because sometimes I do get kind of overwhelmed, and I'm trying to change the whole system that I have created, because God is blessing, and I'm humbled, and I'm grateful. All right. If that is all, what they say, let us bring our minds together. I love y'all. This is Mel. Hi, Brian. We're about to end. Oh, my goodness. I'm so glad you joined us. But go back and watch it. We had a fun time tonight. Hope you learned about getting yourself together to get that mortgage, to get that loan, to go in there and take it by the horns and be like, look, I'm about to get this $250,000 loan. I'm getting ready to get this $465,000 loan. I'm going to buy this house. I'm going to buy this investment property. I want to get y'all mortgage ready. This is Melody Tate, the credit queen of the North and the South, also known as the Mortgage Strategic Planner. That is Mel. I am signing off. If y'all got any questions, rewatch this. You know how to get in touch with me. I love y'all. Peace until we talk again. See ya.